Hello everyone, this is my first video in quite a while that is not Fortnite or other skate events. But I've had an idea for another kind of video series, sort of talking about some of my history, but kind of inspired by one of the series I did about all my builds on Octcraft and the similar series for ACO. I'm kind of been wanting to do another one of those documentative things, but more about a more positive topic, because it's been decided for the just the better sake of many of the members of SCADE that were scarred by the events that had or things that had happened to them in that community. It's preferred we don't talk about it, at least not in like public calls and such, unless we all consent to it, like we're okay to reminisce about that. And we've had a few such calls lately. But as many of you probably know, I've had a lifelong interest in computers and electronics, really anything. Like, though my interests are mostly about the hardware of computers. I'm not really, I don't know if this is well known, but I was never, like, when it comes to it's like software and coding, that's something I'm yet to delve into, and I'm kind of not really all that interested in it. But what I am interested in is the hardware. And since I was a really young child, it's basically been my dream to build my own PC or my own computer, and I am basically living that dream today. And but really what this is going to be about is I want to kind of share with you, well, what are all the computers that I've used throughout my life? Like, what all the computers I have owned. And it's really kind of quite the journey. So, like, kind of to summarize it, throughout basically over the course of 20 years, I've went from just using like whatever computer like my family could get a hold of for the cheapest price that we could afford, to having my own money and being able to purchase whatever I could, whatever I can spend money on and afford. And over the years, I've been able to actually move up quite a ways in the world, and I'm now using It's not the best computer you can buy, but it's pretty high up there. In fact, I am probably one of the most privileged members of Scade Gaming, like many like in that regard. Many of us are still on like you're still using really old computers that are hardly functional today. And let's just say I'm fortunate to actually be able to buy myself computers that are way more than I need at the time, and I'm able to grow into and should serve me well for several years to come. But as for my first computer, the first one that I used, at least that I remember, it was a computer that I believe my sister had gotten from the school she attended at the time. And it was, at the time, I'd say about a 5 or 6 year old computer. And at least from what I remember, and me being a young kid, I don't remember really much of anything. I don't remember, I don't even remember what brand what make or model the computer was. I don't remember really much about it other than it was a desktop case, or what's colloquially referred to at least as a pizza box case, and it's the flat case that your monitor would sit on top of, and this was back when CRT monitors were commonplace. And all I remember is that was the form factor, and that it ran Windows 98. And that was really that was my first time even sitting in front of a computer and using one. But it belonged to my sister, and at the time my sister was very protective of her belongings. I really didn't get to use it that often. But the first computer that I owned, it was given to me by my mom at the time, and it originally was given to my family, and it was our family computer. Like as in my mom and dad both had desktop accounts on it, and then they would both share it. But then at some point my mom got a new computer. I don't know why. Probably that one was probably she wanted something faster, and guess who that computer ended up going to? Me. It's just my parents really didn't have a need for it anymore, and I guess at the time I was really expressing a desire to have my own computer, and my mom was like, here, you can have this. And the reason I haven't mentioned what really anything about this computer, what the make and model was, and that is, I don't remember a whole lot about it, just like the computer my sister had. But what I do remember about it is that it was an Emachines computer, and I remember I remember that it was from the etower line that they made, but I don't remember the exact make or the exact model. But about now, I will be editing in pictures of what approximately what it looked like, at least what I could find online. And so for those of you who are just watching my video and are very unfamiliar with personal computer history, or really just unfamiliar with computers in general, what Emachines was, so they were really like their claim to fame was make the cheapest computer possible. And pretty much. And this was in a time when really any decent, if you any computer, desktop or laptop would cost well over $1,000. And I forget what the average price of the Emachines and I think there were there was another brand, there was Emachines and Gateway, and there may have been another brand I'm not remembering, but that they were the really budget computer brands. And it's if you wanted to own a computer, but you can't afford anything really extravagant, that's what you bought. And a lot of people, retroactively looking back on it, have kind of shunned those companies, oh, I remember that, those are horrible, whatever. But how I see them is, if anything, they actually helped to lower the cost of entry. As in, for one, them existing, those brands existing, gave an option for people who want to own a computer but can't afford to really anything extravagant. And also, it created an incentive for the more well-known and well-regarded computer makers to make cheaper computers. And that's really my opinion, but here you have the right to your opinion. But anyway, I do vaguely remember what the specs of this computer were, but I didn't know that when I was a kid and when my mom first gave it to me. But I only found this out, like, retroactively, like, and, really the most remarkable thing about that computer was that it had that as its processor, it had the Intel Celeron 300A, and that would not be a very that would not be noteworthy at all if not for the fact that it was the very first processor like Intel ever called Celeron, and it also happened to be very another thing about it is it was also very highly overclockable. Not that that mattered, and not that that mattered at all, and that matters a hill of beans for a just for just a cheap pre-built computer, but it was popular among, I guess, computer builders of the time because it could be overclocked very easily. And but I didn't know that as a kid. I just learned this retroactively, like just as I've been watching videos about computer history. And the only other part of the specs I really remember is that it had a 40 gigabyte hard drive, and like my mom was like that was a big deal to her at the time, and at least that's what I remember, and it couldn't have had more than probably 32 or 64 megabytes of RAM, and it had for graphics, I believe it had just an on-board, just like an on the motherboard ATI Rage chipset, and it also had onboard sound. But I forget what the actual sound chip would be. But what really mattered to me at the time was that I finally have literally my own computer that I can just, like, I don't have to share with my parents. I can just go in my bedroom, turn on my computer anytime I want, like as long as, well, so I guess as long as I had my homework done and done my chores. But my parents never really gave me chores to do, and they didn't give me allowance either. But the other thing it was, at least for me at the time, was my mom did not allow me internet access for reasons that should hopefully be obvious to at least most of my audience, and I believe I wouldn't be allowed internet access until probably, I'm just roughly guessing, probably 2010, 2011-ish, or maybe 2009. But and I also didn't have any games to install on this computer, and And for me at the time, and this was really a problem for me for quite a while, I was very, basically my mom wouldn't let me play any games, like, really any games that involved shooting, or really violence of any kind. And in fact, my mom would be kind of express, I guess it'd be harsh to call it paranoia, but it's just, like she'd express her concerns about me playing these games she doesn't want me to be playing. And it took me, it wasn't until I got Minecraft that she finally trusted me and that I'm not gonna learn to do bad things. Let's just say that. But anyway, all I really used this computer for was, like, drawing in Microsoft Paint, which, may be surprising to some of you, but that actually was like a pretty, that actually was a leisure activity for me, like, and it was really cool for me at the time, and I think I kind of actually was a bit ahead of my time, and like probably most children during that time period, that era, still have coloring books and like colored pencils, crayons, and whatever, and they just be, if they want to draw, they draw on paper. Where, I mean, I did a lot of that, but I also, like, as a kid, I taught myself how to use the Microsoft Paint, like how to actually draw stuff with it. Like, and like I didn't have access to any tutorials or really anything. It's just, literally just by playing around with the program and what the different tools do, I taught myself how to use Microsoft Paint. And I think my mom even ended up printing out a few of my drawings, and I believe one time I even brought one of them to school, and my teacher was very proud of, was really impressed by what I was able to do. But in fact, I probably maybe could edit in some of those drawings in post. Just to kind of, so you could see for yourself. But really why I, like, the thing is, I didn't just draw, like, I didn't just randomly doodle, or, I mean, I guess I did do that, but at the time, I guess me being autistic, I tended to have a lot of different, I'm not alone in this, but throughout my childhood, I've had a lot of different, I guess, hyper-focuses or hyper-fixations, where I would just get really interested in one specific type of thing, and part of me expressing that interest was drawing was like basically drawing it in in Microsoft Paint. And it's like I went through phases of like drawing like spaceships, factories, like in scenes like from video games. And you know, it's really kind of an interesting time for me. And really the other thing I did, like the other thing I did on that computer was really just playing the games that were bundled with Windows XP, which Windows XP at the, like, really, it came with, like, there was a lot of different, like, applications bundled with it, like, that aren't even really, that are not really a thing on Windows, like the later versions of Windows. And like if any of you remember the 3D pinball game, like that came with Windows XP, I played that a lot. And then there are just some other random games, like I think like I didn't end up playing Minesweeper that much. It was just kind of I did it's like I enjoyed it a little bit, but like for me as a kid at the time, I guess I was just a little intimidated by it, and I really could only complete like I think like the first few boards, and then the more harder ones I'd always lose. But really at the time, a lot of my leisures, like childhood leisure activities, were not actually on that computer. They were like I'd watch TV, or I had a lot of books to read, and also being in my childhood, I also had toys to play with as well. And really, and quite a few of those toys actually kind of invoked my interests, and kind of were, let's just say, kind of they set me on the path that I'm still on today. Like I think I had a bunch of Lego sets, and I forget what this one was called, but there was this one like sort of building type toy I had. I think it's kind of, I guess it's similar to Connects or like Erector sets. But it was basically you'd build like trains of gears, and I guess in a way it kind of ends up being like a kinetic sculpture. And well, if I find the name of it, I'll probably put it in the video. But just and I think also some of my family even got me books. Like there was this one book I got for, I think it was Christmas, where it was like basically like it was just about how everyday things work. And and it was like shows like exploded views and cutaway views of what the insides of like different gadgets and things we use in our everyday lives, and even some things we don't necessarily see every day but are still interesting nonetheless. And well, just to get off this tangent, I'd say I had an interesting childhood. And really, ever since owning this, my first computer, that's kind of basically set me up to be, interested in computers for pretty much my whole life up until today. And there was this one time I also kind of remember quite vividly, on my dad's side of my family, we have an aunt who was they were very computer savvy, and they even built their own computers during the Windows XP era, or at least when I was little. And that's actually what got me interested in wanting to build my own computer. Oddly enough, or at least that's what initially spurred my interest. And oddly enough, that they were also the ones that gave us this Emachine desktop that that ended up going into my possession. I guess I should also elaborate that none of these computers are laptops, and all of them are PCs. Though I have used Apple or like Apple computers at school, but I've never owned one. No, I guess let's get back to this. That's the story I wanted to share. But so anyway, so basically, our aunt came over to my house one day. I forget why, but they actually I think this was when the computer was under my ownership. The computer was in my room and I was using it. But when they came in my room, and they actually lifted the case off the computer. I forget why. I forget the details of why, but just when I got to see the inside of the computer, it really interested me. I don't know why, but it did. And it's just any opportunity I get to see behind the scenes, or or something that we use on an everyday basis. It would pique my interest. And I don't really know what else to say here, but anyway, I ended up, I believe, owning this computer. This was my primary computer I would use every day from. I'm just roughly guesstimating about 2003 or 4 till about maybe 2008 or 9. And I'm pretty sure it was in 2009 it was replaced, and it would be replaced with the computer I'm going to be talking about next in this video series. Though this is not going to be very long. I've only really had, in my whole life, I've only owned, I think, 5 computers. But this will get more interesting as progressively throughout this series, as we also get into my experiences of building my first computer, and also a first computer that I actually upgraded and repaired myself, which I'd recommend you stay tuned for. And though really I forget like the exact why that I wanted to, I think at the time I may have wanted to get a new computer just because that one was getting a bit slow for me. But then again, I wasn't using the internet. Though what ultimately ended up happening to this computer was one day, like, I don't really know the details of how, or why, but, the computer, basically, it got infected with some kind of malware that basically made the hard drive unbootable. And really at that point, we just kind of wrote the computer off at that point, because really at that point it was just an ancient computer that just was not really useful, like for modern stuff. And I ended up just sitting in our garage, like in the garage, for a few years, and eventually because I was at this point in time, I was getting into my electronics hobby. I decided that I wanted to take that computer apart, and basically what I did is I just like parted it out completely, and the case got thrown away long ago, but I actually, to this day, still have a box of just mostly circuit boards from things I've taken apart, but some of the guts of that computer are probably still kicking around in there. And so really that's kind of how that computer's life ended. But I can't thank it enough for spurring my interest in computers and getting me kind of letting me cut my teeth on like using at least using a Windows PC daily, and also for like allowing me to use a computer at a fairly young age. I really don't have much else to say about it, and I guess that'll bring the end of this video, and stay tuned for my next installment. And I guess this is this has been Dusty Circuit here. I hope you liked what you saw. Remember to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you want to catch my next videos, be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And this is Dusty signing off. Bye.